Good day and welcome to another installment of Aviate Higher. Today we're going to be talking about landings, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. This video is going to primarily focus on those just starting out, those who don't have a lot of experience. Maybe you are in that phase right now and you're trying to figure out how am I ever going to get this aircraft on the ground safely, consistently. And hopefully this video is for you and I can help you out just a little bit. So to start off, when we're coming in on final, we want to be stabilized. One thing I want you to think about as a new pilot or seasoned pilot who hasn't flown in a while is always be ready to go around. You never have to land the aircraft unless you're out of fuel. Otherwise, every single approach should be stabilized all the way down to touchdown. If this is how you think, I always should be ready to go around, then that will solve about 80% of your landing problems. Because you won't be focusing on the landing, you'll be focusing on flying the aircraft until it lands itself on the ground. If it is not, I say again, if it is not, be ready to go around. If anything doesn't look right, be ready to go around. I can't tell you enough that I fly here and there with different students who come from one place or another, and every single time they're trying to put it on the ground, even if it's bad. And most often, more than not, they just say, well, we'll try to get it better next time. That's not what this video is about. It's not about, well, trial and error, I'll try to get it better next time. I want you to be consistent. I want every time to be a good landing for you, and it's possible. So if it's not stabilized, if it doesn't look good, go around, try again. Don't put it on the ground and just trial and error it and be like, oh, well, that was a hard landing. And, yeah, break the aircraft. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to teach you how to land the aircraft safe.
In this clip, he appears to be on a stabilized approach. Notice how the ailerons are always moving. Even as he crosses the threshold, he still has power. He appears to be in ground effect and is still flying the aircraft. There is the bounce. He is on the ground. Notice he raised the flap lever, but never verified that they actually came up. Here we're going to watch the same pilot fly another approach. As you can see, he appears to be stabilized. The ailerons are continuing to move. He's adjusting his controls. As you look at the propeller, you'll see that it's still spinning fairly the same. He's now in ground effect, and you see that the propeller is now going backwards, which means he reduced the power. There's the bounce. He's on the ground. He did raise the flaps again, but once again failed to look outside to verify that they are actually up. Flap lever is fiction. Looking outside is actually fact.
As I cross the threshold, did my instructor teach me to pull the power to idle or keep a little bit of power in? Depending on the aircraft you're flying, I personally would recommend, not instruct, not tell, but recommend that you keep a little bit of power in after crossing the threshold. For the reason, if you have to go around, the engine is already spooled up a little bit. If you bring the power to idle as you cross the threshold, the problem there is now you're no longer piloting the aircraft, you're just piloting a glider. And we're not teaching you how to fly a glider, we're teaching you how to fly an aircraft. As long as the aircraft is in the sky, it is flying. It is your job to continue to fly the aircraft until the wheels are on the ground. If the wheels are not on the ground, keep flying the aircraft. Too many of the students here and there over the years have said, okay, now I'm in ground effect. I can stop flying the aircraft and just wait for it to fall out of the sky. That is not good piloting. We don't want the aircraft to drop out of the sky. We want to continue to fly it until it gets the wheels on the ground. So what happens if there is a steady crosswind and you stop flying the aircraft in ground effect? Now all of a sudden the aircraft is going to get pushed sideways while in the air. And when the aircraft finally touches down, the wheels are not only going to be going in a forward direction, but they're also going to be going in a side direction. Aircraft wheels, at least on the small aircraft, are not designed to go sideways. They're only meant to go forward and backwards, but we don't have reverse in our aircraft. That's another lesson. So once you get into ground effect, smoothly bring the power to idle. It doesn't mean you're at full throttle when you enter ground effect, but you have a little bit of power. And when you get into ground effect, stabilized in ground effect. That doesn't mean coming from 50 feet over the threshold, getting into ground effect, and immediately pulling power to idle. No, 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 no. It means established. Established means if you're going... Established means that you are established, not just there momentarily. So you're establishing ground effect. Now that you're establishing ground effect, smoothly bring that power to idle. Continue to fly that aircraft until the wheels touch the ground. Then the wheels are on the ground. Continue to maneuver that aircraft safely while on the ground. The next thing I see with students in the traffic pattern when they are learning how to fly, and we'll see it on this video here in this clip, is the gentleman in the aircraft lands the aircraft. His whole intent is to do traffic patterns, so he's doing touch and goes. Well, there's no problem with doing touch and goes. We all do touch and goes. As long as the runway's long enough and yeah, everything else works, we can do touch and goes all day long. Well, as you see, he has center line. Another thing you see, he brings the flap lever up. The problem I have here, call it technique, call it whatever, but I've seen over the years, depending on the aircraft, you need to verify that the flaps came up. So just give a quick look outside, either left or right, depending on what you're doing, and verify that the flaps came up. The lever is fiction. Looking outside at the actual flap configuration is fact. Fiction is the lever, fact is the actual flap configuration. You may lift that flap lever up, you had it set to full flaps, now all of a sudden you're doing a go around while doing touch and goes, and the next thing you know, for some reason, your aircraft flap mechanism, gear, whatever it is, malfunctioned. And the flaps are still set to somewhere out of either 0 or whatever takeoff configuration you have set for your particular aircraft. And then you go airborne, and your aircraft doesn't produce lift. And it's a hot July day. Now what are you going to do? Now you're going to pucker a little bit and try to figure, how am I going to get myself out of this situation? Well, if you do get yourself into that situation, I would highly recommend grabbing the flap lever and cycling it. Go up, go down, go up, go down, and maybe that will fix it. But for now, for the purposes of this video that we're making today, just do a quick look outside. Make sure the aircraft is stabilized on center line while you're on the ground. Power's at idle. Nothing's in front of you. Flap lever is up. Once again, fiction. And then take a quick look outside, either left, right, or both, and make sure that the flaps did come up. Now that the flaps are up, now you can focus on going airborne again. So whatever it takes for your aircraft configuration to go airborne, now you go airborne. The next thing I want to discuss in this clip that we're looking at here is the aircraft is coming in on final. He's on center line, but you see as he gets down near the pavement, the aircraft starts to veer to the left. Well, that just means he stopped flying it. He failed to put in adequate aileron, adequate rudder, whatever the aircraft needed for that moment. And he just accepted, okay, well, I got enough payment, I'll just land left of center line. That is not stabilized. If for any reason he had a flat tire on touchdown, he's off the pavement. Things are going to go bad real quick. If you're on center line and you have something go bad, you have time to react. So, if it's not stabilized, if you're not on center line, if any of the above, go around, try it again. Once again, too many pilots just think, well, I'll land it, I'll count it as a landing. It may not be the best, but and they just grunt it off. That's not how we want to be. Another thing I see, you come stabilized in on final. You get yourself into ground effect and you land fast. Fast is not always good. What happens if you touch down and you're not in control of the aircraft? Now the aircraft's going to take you where it wants to go. Let's say you land fast and you have a flat tire as you touch down, or your tire starts to slowly deflate. Now your directional control is going to be extremely difficult to maintain if you have excessive speed. Also, if you're coming in on final and you have excessive speed, now you're going to stay in ground effect longer and eat up valuable runway that you could have used for landing and stopping. This is most egregious on short runways. So come in at the proper stabilized airspeed. If it's not, what do? That's right. Go around, try again. You only have to land when the aircraft is out of fuel. So what are some of the key points that we touched on today? We touched on stabilization. We talked about, with respect to stabilization, center line. We talked about proper airspeed. We talked about not throttle jockeying per se, but keeping a little bit of power in there and not being a glider pilot, but an airplane pilot. Flying the aircraft until the wheels are on the ground. If we are doing a go-around, fact, fiction, flap setting compared to what is actually going on outside. Hopefully these little tips and tricks will help you to land the aircraft better and more consistently and make you feel better about being a pilot. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time and take care.